Hello, welcome back to another chapter. So this is Kavya and I am taking the exam preparation content for MPC005 research methods. Now we have reached the block 2 and in this block 2 this is part of the first year MA psychology course, and in this block 2 we are having 4 units. Survey research, ex post facto research, experimental research and case study. So all of these are 4 different types of research. So if you remember, in the block 1, in the first chapter at 1.4 objectives of good research, we had seen 4 types of research. It is these 4 that is coming again here. So in the, over there we would have seen the names exploratory research used for survey, diagnostic research used for ex post facto research, hypothesis testing for experimental research, and descriptive experiment for case study. So now we are going to start the unit 1 of block 2, which is survey research. So survey research is a non-experimental research. That means it does not involve any measurement under controlled conditions. So whatever we are observing here, things are happening at the regular conditions. So this is a descriptive research method. It is a quantitative method for studying a large size sample. The researcher collects data with the help of standardized questionnaires. Survey research technique is an applied social science research technique, and it is helpful in data collection through direct, that is face-to-face interview, or indirect methods such as survey, questionnaires, etc. So we are coming to the first topic, which is steps involved in conducting survey research. So again, going back to block 1, if you remember, there was something called as research process or research design steps. Okay, so when you look at the steps involved in conducting survey research, it is similar to the steps that we learned for research process or research design in the first block, first unit. And similarly here also, for all the 4 different types of research, you would see the steps. So all of these are almost similar, but depending on the type of study, depending on the type of research study that we are going to involve in, there will be slight certain differences. So that is what we need to focus on. And this is also important because even though the steps involved in conducting survey research has not been an exam question, this has been an exam question for the research process. It has been a question for other types of research experiments. So this is an important aspect, and also it's easy to learn because you're going to repeatedly learn it for all these different in all these different cases. Okay, so any type of survey research has the following systematic steps. Also, I forgot to tell you, so at the end of the end of this block 2, I'll also try to compare and share what all are the differences, what all are the similarities with respect to the different testing that we are going to learn here when it comes to the steps involved. So you're going to the steps. 1 is determination of aims and objectives of study, which means at the outset itself we need to analyze and assess which all relevant areas or issues are going to be studied, and the basic aims and objectives have to be clearly, specifically mentioned. It is part of the purpose of research, and it has to be relevant and understandable. And the second step is define the population to be studied. It's a very important step here. So the population should have at least one common characteristic which is going to be helpful and also will provide the direction in the process of conducting the research. Third is design and construct a survey. This is going to be specific for a survey research. In other methods, you would find designing, conducting a test or a hypothesis testing process or the research process, something like that. So here it is Third step is design and conduct the survey, construct the survey. So first, there is a population, and based on the population, the survey research needs to be designed. And once the frame is designed, the researcher needs to select which all instruments will be used. For example, will it be an interview, will it be a face-to-face interview, will it be a telephonic interview, will it be a questionnaire, opinion poll, whatever. And once the instrument is selected, the researcher conducts a pilot study. Pilot study means it's a study on a small population, it's a smaller survey, which also helps to analyze the significance and relevance of the instruments prepared, and also if there is any fine-tuning needed in the survey that is constructed, that is also done at this step. Then select a representative sample. So the construction of the survey instrument and the pilot will actually help to select the right sample of the target population. So select a sample which represent nearly the maximum characteristics of the whole population, so that whatever result is obtained can be easily generalized on the whole population. Fourth step is to, fifth step, there is a, the number here is wrong. In the textbook, you can see the numbering is wrong. Step 3 is repeated again. So here we are coming to step 6, which is administration of the survey. That means the researcher has to conduct the survey by applying it on the population. So this helps the data collection. Now analyze and interpret the findings. So the right statistical tools need to be selected, and then the data has to be analyzed, and whatever findings are to be interpreted or to be understood, that has to be understood, which includes process like coding data and processing the data. Next, once we have the analysis done and we have some interpretations from the survey, now we have to prepare the report, and the report contains all the details, aims, objectives, data analysis, the data interpretation, the tools used, and the result discussion. And this step helps the researcher understand how the findings meet the initial set aims and objectives, and finally communicate the findings so that one, to both the target population and also to the larger public, so that there could be policies and decision making that happens as a result of this, or even this can lead to further studies and research. Okay, so just going through all the steps: determination of aims and objectives, define population, design and construct survey, select representative sample, administer survey, analyze and interpret the findings, prepare the report, and communicate the findings. So now we are going to the next topic, which is methods or instruments used in collecting data through survey research. And this is very important because this has been a repeated question for the exams. So surveys should be designed to help in making accurate decisions. So there are 3 main ways which are in which we use the instruments for data collection. Okay, one is sampling, second is questionnaire, and third is interview. So sampling, as we all know, we understand that as more of finding the population, but sampling can also be acting as a instrument in data collection. Okay, so to study, I'm going with the example in the text, to study the level of job satisfaction among employees of an organization. Okay, so if the researcher needs to study the satisfaction of employees in a particular organization, that itself tells you where the sample needs to be taken from. So sampling is also a method or instrument to collect data. Okay, to avoid bias, sampling should be done with the help of randomization or simple random sampling, like what we learned in the previous block. Or depending on the need, you can also go for stratification or even cluster sampling, whatever is needed. But idea is to take a random sampling technique. The second method is to use a questionnaire, or second instrument for data collection is questionnaire. So questionnaire typically means It's a paper with a lot of questions written and you take a pen or a pencil to mark your response. So mostly multiple choice questions. So this is what we ideally mean by a questionnaire. And this is very helpful because we can get data from a huge number of samples at a single time. So it can be administered in 3 ways. Mail survey, group survey, and household drop-off survey. Okay. Mail survey, also we can think of it as an online survey. So the soft copy of the questionnaire can be sent to a large number of people through email or through other methods. And then the data can be collected at a single time. It is inexpensive, less time consuming, convenient method. But sometimes there are answers, spot answers needed, or if the respondents have some doubt and they want to clear it, then that cannot be cleared through this. Next is group administered questionnaire. It is a traditional method wherein researcher invites a large number of people to be present at a single place together, and then they'll be given the structured question set as a questionnaire or as written on the paper, and then they are asked to fill in their responses. The advantage is the respondents can clarify the doubt with the researcher at the time of answering the survey itself. Third method is household drop-off survey. Here researcher goes door to door to different people and hands them the questions and collect it from them. It's like a pick and drop facility. And researcher can also understand what problems the respondents have and give them support accordingly. But it's a time consuming and laborious process for the researcher. The third method or instrument used for data collection is interview. So interview and questionnaire are different because in questionnaire you're getting a list of questions and you have multiple options to be given as your response. But interview is a face-to-face interaction, and it also therefore could be difficult in some cases, but it also gives an opportunity to give honest answers and more detailed answers from the respondents. And here the interviewer also has an opportunity to ask follow-up questions, which is not, this facility is not available when we are using questionnaires. So one drawback is that the respondents need to be ready to open up and answer. So that is very important here. So these are also of 3 types: structured, unstructured, and telephonic interview. So structured interview means the questions are already prepared in advance, and then these questions are given, and then the researcher notes down the question number and notes down the responses. In an unstructured interview, it's done in an informal atmosphere. Nothing is planned in advance, and one answer of the respondent gives some clue to the researcher to go to the next question, and so on. Telephonic interview, again, it's a time and money saving process. The researcher calls people at their phone number and asks them the questions and then collect the data. It is a problem if all respondents are not in a mood or don't have the time to attend the telephone and answer your questions. I'm changing the content here in the text because here it's given that the limitation as not everyone may have access to telephone. So this could be a slightly older content, so which is why we have that as a limitation. In today's world, that is not a limitation. So I have kind of excluded that part when talking about this. So the 3 methods or instruments used for data collection are: 1, sampling, where sampling itself becomes a method of data collection. Then the questionnaire. The questionnaire includes 3 types: online or mail survey, group administered questionnaire, and household drop-off survey. And interview, which has again 3 forms: structured interview, unstructured interview, and telephonic interview. So next topic is types of survey research. This is also a very important one. So based on the selection of our instrument, the questions can be open-ended or a qualitative one, quantitative or forced choice questions. So whatever type of questions or instruments we are using, survey types are of 2 types: cross-sectional and longitudinal survey. There are other types, but here we are discussing only cross-sectional and longitudinal surveys. So cross-sectional survey as in when the researcher wants to collect data from different type of groups in terms of age, sex, nation, geography, etc. The researcher wants to collect data from all different type of group at the same time. So an example is study of the effect of socialization of children of different age groups of a particular country. So different age groups of a particular country. So in which children is finalized, so we know what age group falls under children. And they have said different age groups. So children of different age groups, so they are distributing the age groups of children maybe as infants, young child, adolescent, all of these groups, and then they are collecting it from different geographies, from different localities, across different genders, all of these. So that is a cross-sectional survey. This is less time consuming and more economical. The longitudinal survey, it has also been asked separately and also as part of the types of survey research. So it's a very important question. Longitudinal survey is when the researcher wants to study the same subject for a longer period of time. Okay. So it includes behavioral changes, attitude changes, effect of practices, effect of disaster, effect of events, all of that over a longer time on the selected sample or population. So the difference is when you say cross-sectional survey, when you say cross-section, it means cutting things and then looking at it. So for it's now orange, you're cutting it and then looking at it. So it means you have to see everything together. So you have to see age, you have to see geography, you have to see gender, all of these. So all the kind of data across the different cross sections need to be obtained at the same time. And when you think of longitudinal, longitude means in a line, so which means across the timeline. So you're taking the same population or the same sample and seeing how their behavior has changed over time. This is the first year of their school, 7th year of the school, 10th year of the school, last year of the school, how they have changed, like that, something similar to that. Okay. So longitudinal studies are of 3 types: cohort study, panel study, and trend studies. So we are starting with trend studies. So trend study means when the researcher needs to analyze the trend of a phenomena. So that is, the sample may not be the same because they may have changed or shifted, but they belong to the same population. Okay, so I'm going with the example first. So yearly survey of number of graduates actively using books from library. So if I want to study the number of graduates actively using books from library, what I'll do is, my population is students of the university or students of the college. So that is the population, but the specific sample that I'll be selecting will be changing over the years, because if I'm doing a 10-year study, students will not be inside the college for 10 years continuously, right? So what I'll do is I'll study the first year students in 2000, then I'll study the second year students in 2005. Like that I'll keep on studying, or maybe I can even do something like I can study the students, first year students itself in 2000, in 2005, 2010. So in 3 years, so I've studied their behavior from 2000 to 2010. Or maybe I could do something like I'm taking first year and final year in 2000, in 2005, 2010. So something like that. So the sample may be changing because they have changed the college or they've completed their education. But whatever sample I'm taking, they'll be subject to the same question and they'll be examined regularly. And sometimes because it's over a long period of time, the research may not be done by the same research also, because I may be available from 2000 to 2005. So I've done 2 sets of studies. But in 2010, I've got a different job and I've gone to a different place. So there'll be a new researcher who will be continuing and who will be doing the same job. So the population and the researcher can change, but we are using the sample and the researcher can change, but we are using the same population and we are trying to analyze the trend of some behavior, that is the trend of how students use books from the library. So that is known as trend studies. Next is cohort study. So cohort study means the same population is sampled and studied more than once in the time gap. So cohort means it's like a batch. So it's like a group who are from the same time group. So if I'm studying the students from 2009 batch and see how they are using the library facility. So if it's a 4-year course, I'm studying them, their library use pattern in the first year of their study in 2010, in 2011, in 2012 and 2013. All 4 years, it's the same group of students that I'm choosing for the study, and then I'm studying their library use. So, and this study helps you understand if that same cohort or the same group have changed their attitude towards library use over the 4 years. So next is panel study. So here also you can see the difference. So if it was a trend study, I would have chosen a different set of students, and then I would have studied in 2010. I would have studied the one set of students first year, and in 2011 I would have taken the next set of students who have come to first year, and so on and so forth. But in cohort study, I'm taking the same batch and then studying them over the 4 years. Next is panel study. Panel study uses same sample of people every time, and the sample is called as panel. This is used to investigate change in attitude, behavior or practices within a period of time. They are more specific and focused as researcher studies particular change in attitude, belief, practice, etc. of the same group. So that is, the researcher may initially ask some questions to students on the frequency of library usage, and then after a few years the researcher goes and asks the same group similar questions and asks why they have changed their behavior. So this study is difficult because the number of students can keep changing, and number of even the researcher can keep changing. So there could be the number of students who are willing to answer may change. All of these changes can keep happening. So which is why panel study is not really preferred so much over the time. So next we are coming to constructing a survey research. So the survey instruments are the backbone of survey research, and hence there should be a lot of importance given to the survey instruments or the questions or the statements used in the questionnaire or in the interview, etc. So it should be short and specific, and once the framework is decided, the questions should be written considering the content, scope and objectives of the question, selecting the most convenient format of response, that is, should it be a yes or no, should it be a rating scale, whatever it is, and deciding the right questions to give the right response, because some questions, the wordings may be offensive or the wordings may be too confusing, so then people may not give you the right response. And then formatting it again and again, and doing some pilot and testing with other people and then formatting it back, and also ensure that there is a lot of sensitivity, because the values and morality of the respondents also need to be considered, and it should not be hurting them when we ask these questions. So we're going to do the type of questions. So we saw how the questions should be, what all should be the characteristics of the questions that we are asking in a survey. Now we are going to see the types of questions. In all these types that we are going to discuss, whatever points we said before, like the scope, the content, the brevity, the specificity, the format of response, the formatting of questions, the framing of questions, sensitivity, all of these are important, but in whatever type of questions that you're going to ask. So we have mainly two types, structured and unstructured questions. So when we were discussing the face-to-face interview, we were talking about the structured and unstructured questions. So structured questions, is already said, they are specific and they have, it is pre-planned and pre-designed and already written down. So structured questions are of three types. One is dichotomous questions, second level of measurement questions, and third filter or contingency questions. So this will be sounding like repeating. Even when I'm talking and I'm talking about this topic, I find it I'm myself feeling that, okay, I've said all these before, because we have already discussed this in some similar ways, or even in different, even as different topics, but we have discussed a lot of these in the first block itself. Okay, so I mean, structured question first is dichotomous. So when you see di, that itself is clue that it's 2. Okay, so that is, it has only 2 possible responses, like yes or no, true or false, 1 or 0, something like that. So a question like, does your university have a library? Yes, no. Or what is your gender? When you're saying male, female, but I don't know how much we are going to use that in future, because we are going to include more genders, so not anymore. Next is level of measurement based questions. So you're going to measure the levels of your response. So there are 3 levels. One is nominal. Nominal means nominal is related to the word name. So it means name. It is based on name, persons, classification, objects, groups, etc. Ordinal means rank. So it's based on ranking and preference. And third is interval, which is based on rating. So nominal questions have numbers before the question. So, and then the number is not significant here. It's only the names that are significant. So for example, what is your category? General, OBC, SC, ST. So your caste category, maybe general is written as 1, OBC is written as 2, SC, ST is written as 3. Here it doesn't mean anything. Or if you ask your gender, it's 1 is male, 2 is female, 3 is transgender. So here it doesn't, the number doesn't mean anything. It just, the name is what is important. So that is a nominal question. And then ordinal question, there is a preference on the number that you give. So for example, we have asked a question like, give rank of 1 to 4 for the top actors of the country, or top actors of Malayalam industry. So when say Mammootty, Mohanlal, Suresh Gopi, Jayaram, okay, 4 names. And then we have to give 1, 2, 3, 4. So whatever number you want to give. So it's a ranking that you give. So if you think that, okay, the best is Suresh Gopi, you give 1 to him. Or you think best is Jayaram, you give 1 to that person. And then others follow. So all of these. And next is the interval scale. Interval scale is what we already call as a Likert response. That is something like, the university has a well-furnished library. 1 is strongly agree, 2 is agree, 3rd is cannot say, 4 is disagree, 5 is strongly disagree. So here that is, we are giving some interval based response, or we are giving our choices on some interval. The third type is filter or contingency question. So all of these, or whatever 3 things I said now, are part of the level of measurement. The level of measurement is nominal, ordinal, and the interval. And the third type of question is, among the structured question, the third type of question is filter or contingency question. So that is, there is one question and it is followed by a succeeding question. So the first question is like part 1, second question is like a subpart part 2, subpart part 3, like that. Okay. So here, this one thing that needs to be really thought about is, one is that it is important when you need subsequent responses, but it should also be taken care that it's not too long. I cannot keep asking 5 or 6 or 7 subpart to the same question. It will be boring to the respondent. So maybe 1 or 2, not more than that. So for example, here I'm going with the example given in the test. Have you regularly attended the library of your university? So yes, no. So this is a dichotomous question, yes and no. And then the next question is, if yes, okay, if you're answering yes, then how many times? So here we are given 4 options. So the 4 options is like a nominal kind of a question. So this is how we are going to understand the types of structured question. And then the unstructured question, we already talked about that in interview. So it's a series of questions wherein the response of the first question will decide what will be the next question be, and then it will be an informal atmosphere. The idea is to get a lot of deep information from the respondent. Here the researcher has to take a lot of care to ensure that no questions are being forced on the respondent. If they don't want to answer, they should be given a space to not answer it. And also the researcher should be empathetic and giving them space to answer, and also understand their emotions, understand their morality, be very sensitive, give clarification when the question is not properly understood, and so on and so forth. So the next few topics have not yet been asked for exams, but still I'm going to just very briefly tell you. So precautions while designing instrument. So that topic is actually similar. So this is 1.8, and this topic is very similar to the 1.6, which is constructing a survey research. Again, it's similar. Items or questions should be clear, specific, relevant, short. The respondents should be capable to answer the question. Researchers should have full empathy with the respondents and avoid questions which have negative impact. Avoid bias toward question or towards the respondent. So all of these needs to be considered together to understand how to construct the questionnaire for the survey research. Now coming to the advantages and disadvantages of survey research. Advantages and disadvantages of other types of research have been asked repeatedly, but not yet survey research. So maybe we could check it. It could come this time. Advantages: convenient, less time, economical, conducted for a longer period of time. So you can understand the change in the trend or some advancements that have taken place. Then there is a full chance to organize and present the reasons of the study to get full and honest answers from the respondents. Disadvantages: maintaining privacy of responses is questionable. So that can also make them make them be a bit restricted, or make them not reveal fully and honestly all the answers. And attrition rate of the respondents, that is in longitudinal studies, because it's the same group of people who have to be repeatedly, or you have to study the same population for a longer time. Either the researcher may attrite, or that is go out from the study, or the sample population may not be interested to repeatedly answer the same question. So that absent issue that can happen. So difficulties and issues of survey research. Again, this has not been asked. It is kind of continuation of the disadvantages. Issue on selecting the type of survey. That is, the right kind of survey always needs to be done. That is, the researcher should be aware of the population, and then the sample should be comfortable with the language. Researcher should analyze geographical or cultural restrictions and then find out what's the right way to decide the survey. And in the survey, second is issues of survey instrument, full knowledge of suitability of questions, clarity, specificity of the questions, and lack of controversial issues. Third is bias issues. That is, the researcher's bias should also not come both in selecting the sample or in preparing the survey instrument. And the researcher also should not lose track of the response that they are getting and should avoid false reports. And then administrative issues, the cost, mode of survey, feasibility of the area, required time period, etc. needs to be pre-planned way before starting the research. So that's it about the first unit, which is survey research. I'm just going to repeat very quickly what all are important in survey research. One is steps involved. Second, methods or instruments used, so sampling, questionnaire and interview methods. And in questionnaire again we have online or mail survey, group administered questionnaire, household drop-off survey. In interview we have structured, unstructured and telephonic interview. Types of survey research: cross-sectional survey and longitudinal survey, which can be done in 3 types: trend studies, cohort studies and panel studies. Then type of questions: structured questions, which could be dichotomous question, level of measurement questions, which is nominal, ordinal, or rate interval or rating based. And third is filter or contingency questions, and then unstructured questions. And the advantages and disadvantages of survey research. So that's about it for this topic. Thank you. We'll see in the next chapter.